Hello, and welcome to the We Get to Do This podcast. My name is Kaylee,
And I'm Jacob.
and we are your co-hosts.
In this show, we're going to dive into all things our lives, from our partnership to romance to entrepreneurship to growing our businesses together, our fitness journeys, and we're going to have a ton of different guests on that relate to what I just said in some way. We're hoping you enjoy the show, and if you do,
Please feel free to follow us, leave us a 5-star review on wherever you listen to your podcasts, and enjoy.
and if you don't like the show, tough. Thank you.
Thanks.
Welcome back, everyone.
We're back.
Episode 23. We apologize for the delay.
We had the follow-up episode to the New Year's episode done almost, and right when we were about to wrap it up, it quit on us. We were using a platform called Zencastr, and we've been having issues for a while now, but then that was kind of the final straw when we lost 35 minutes of our recording, which was very frustrating.
Yeah, so it was time to move on for us from that platform, especially after our email interactions with the company as well.
Yeah, so we
Yeah,
do
well,
not
that-
recommend,
But you can make your own decisions. And if you have any recommendations for us in terms of what we should be using, please let us know as we're navigating the tough waters that are podcasting.
yeah, business is all practice, just constantly learning.
So,
Which is kind of what I want to talk about, or what we want to talk about today, because we're going to be talking about, last episode, which came out on January 1st, was about reflecting on 2024 and kind of looking back. We did the walkthrough episode. Thank you for those of you who did that with us. And now this time is looking ahead to 2025. We're already almost a couple weeks in to 2025, which is crazy. But this episode technically should have been released last week, and we still are. Anyways, we're going to talk about goals, visions, intentions, and just to kind of preface that, I feel like, there's a lot with resolutions that we talk about kind of having like an end goal, or, this thing is, once I achieve this, then I'm done. And a couple of weeks ago, was in a yoga practice or a yoga class, and she was talking about how, like, instead of having a resolution and an ultimate end date and needing to achieve something, think of these as more of like a practice and something that you can continue to reflect upon, and things that you can do for the rest of your life, or things that are more sustainable and making them into more of a lifestyle. Which also is nice, because then it's not really like you're failing. And I do think it's important to set lofty goals and to have things. But if you are somebody who doesn't like setting resolutions because you don't want to fail, or you want to have, just live a healthier lifestyle, or whatever it is, you can kind of think of it as like a practice. And like I said, that's what our businesses are. That's what medicine is. It's all a practice. So just keep that in mind too as we go through these, and we encourage you to grab a notebook again and do these along with us if you've not done any kind of New Year's goals, resolution work, because it's fun, and I'm excited to already look back next year and see kind of where we're at.
and this one was quicker than the reflection.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I jotted down my stuff really fast.
So we haven't done 2025 yet, so it's kind of nice because it's a completely blank slate. So you get to write down whatever you want for all of these. It's your year.
Right.
So with that, we started with physical goals.
Number one, physical goals. Underline it. Here we go.
I like this one because I love mornings. But what does your ideal morning look like in your body? What does your ideal morning look like in your body?
So I talked about how I want to be okay with not being quote unquote productive before clients since I start at like 6 in the morning. I feel like we're gonna be, since we've already done this episode, it's gonna be like the whole time you're gonna be thinking, you've already told me this, Jacob. But since I start at 6 a.m. a lot of mornings, um, it's pretty hard for me to like get adequate sleep and get up at 4 in the morning if I want to like read, drink coffee, do a little work, run, yada yada. So coming to the conclusion that I need to do that afterwards and being okay with that, that's okay. So, but in addition to that, I do want to get 8 hours of sleep. And one thing I would like to do is be consistent with writing out what my 5 critical tasks are of the day and gratitude. So I've been consistent for the past 4 or 5 days now with that. But my critical task list I learned about like 4 years ago. But it's essentially I write down 5 tasks I need to get done for the day, and if I get them all done, I win the day. And if I don't, then I don't win the day. It's pretty much, and then, if you win 4 days of the week, you win the week, and so forth. So that's. Oh, and then I also wrote I want to be on time / ahead of time for my morning clients and not scrambling. So if I have a client at 6, try to get there by 5:55.
And I think it's cool because you've kind of already changed your morning since the new year started.
Yeah, since we wrote these and did that first episode, yeah, I have changed it. Yeah.
Which is why writing down things is cool and important. Yeah. Do you want to talk about what? Well, I'm talking about like with your schedule changing, and you kind of set a goal to start changing your schedule to mornings, and you've already made that happen. And as entrepreneurs, it's nice because we don't have to wait for things. We can just choose to do it and implement things whenever we want.
Yeah.
So again, these goals can change throughout the year too, based on where you're at in life. But my ideal morning looks like the overarching theme also for me is to not be late for things. And I tend to maybe not be, well, it depends on how you think of late. Some people think of if you're not early, you're late. And I'm definitely not really ever early. Except for our run this morning. We did make it a little early.
Everyone else was just more late than us.
That's true.
We were supposed to be there at 7:30 and it was like 7:37 for us.
That's besides the point. We were still first. But I tend to show up either exactly on time or 1 or 2 minutes after I'm supposed to be somewhere. And it usually ends up in me running out the door to get places. And I really want to go through my mornings where everything's ready and I've done my workout. My big one is to not scroll in bed and to wake up after 8 hours of sleep, which I feel like we're very good at doing 8 hours. But waking up and not spending, 15 to 30 minutes on my phone and instead waiting at least 15 to 20 minutes to go on there and not having the first thing that you look at or do in the morning be interacting with a screen. And I've been doing a little better with that since we wrote this. I said a little better. Don't give me the look. But anyways, then do my movement. I really try to fit in 10 minutes of meditation using the Daily Calm app or the Calm app in the daily practice. I want to continue doing that, make time for breakfast, and just leaving time so I'm not rushing out the door every single morning. Because then if you're rushing out, then kind of your whole day is set up in a panic. And I love mornings, so I try to fit everything into the morning, and kind of like you said, that's just not always possible, and that's okay. But the goal is to not be so rushed. And if that means cutting 5 minutes off my workout, cut the 5 minutes off. And Jacob, in 2025, how do you want to experience movement?
Number 2, how do you want to experience movement? Line. Jotted notes. Bulleted point. bullet points. So I put down I want to not be burnt out and I want to stay healthy. Those are my two top things. I still don't really have any races. Like I have Grandma's half and I'm thinking trail mix and maybe Oak Cliff. Like I have a bunch of races that I've thought about signing up for that I haven't yet, but I have no big A race yet, like some people. You can announce it today. So I want to run 2250 to 2500 total miles on the year, and I want to average 2 to 3 strength sessions per week, and then spend more time doing other things like biking, skiing, rowing, hiking, and trails. And then I want to just do more races. So I want to like sign up, like I was just saying, I want to sign up for a bunch, but not put any effort on like one big A race. I want to do a bunch of B races and just go have fun and race them. And so yeah, and then I may do a marathon in the fall. I'm a little undecided yet. I'm just kind of enjoying life right now. So definitely not doing a marathon in the spring. But that's I'm gonna be a little more chill on the movement side of things this year, and I have other things I'm focusing more on right now. So
Training for life.
yeah, training for life. I mean, it's not like I'm not working out. I think I had like 8 hours of movement last week. So doing things, staying active.
And for me, I want to experience my movement. I was kind of, I mean, also thinking of like the feeling of what I want and experiencing movement intentionally and not having it feel so forced, and feeling like it needs to be a certain length or time, and knowing that, if I get out for 1 or 2 miles, that's still a win for the day. And if it's, if I can fit in 10 minutes of a slow flow yoga in our apartment, that's also a win, or a walk. And I don't need to go out for an hour or 10 miles for it to count as movement. So that's something I'm really trying to work on. And then also this doesn't always work, but trying to move in sync with my cycle. And what I mean by that is with, like, as far as menstrual cycle. And so the beginning, after you're done bleeding, is your follicular phase. And that's typically the time to do more of like your HIIT workouts and your high intensity things and heavier lifting, doing more cardio, things like that. And then your luteal phase is the second half. And that's kind of as you're leading into your bleeding phase. And that's the time to slow down. And especially when you're bleeding, that's the time to do yoga, walks, meditation, and just really listening to my body and going more in flow with that. Because I notice that my energy levels, my mood, it all changes when you're not forcing it. Because there's times of the month where you're like, I just don't feel like doing that. Like my body is tired, it feels heavy. And I think it's important to listen to that. It doesn't mean, you can't race when you're at a certain phase. But if you can align your, training schedule with that, I think that's very valuable. And if that's you listening, and if you have a coach too, it's okay to talk to your coach about that. And this is something that I think we don't talk about nearly enough, and is very important to share with, your partner, whoever it is around you. And yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that. It's important. Oh yeah, we were going to start with our themes.
Why don't we end with our themes?
Okay, we can do it back.
Do our top 3 achievements for each next.
Okay, so with the last time we talked about top 3 achievements of 2024.
Correct.
We did personal and professional. And this time we're looking ahead to 2025. And I really liked, so we do a monthly call with the Oak Endurance community, and kind of how you phrased this last week when we did this was, instead of like, I want to do this or I want to be this, saying it as in you've already done it before, and saying, yeah.
Present tense.
Present tense.
Or, yeah, I think I said present tense. So instead of saying, I
Well,
want to run a 3 hour marathon. Say I ran a 3 hour marathon.
yeah. And that's, I feel like, a lot more powerful too,
Yeah,
to
and
say that you did that.
everyone on the call did end up doing that.
Yeah.
It seemed to work really well.
Yeah, I really liked that. So for my personal,
We're gonna do personal and business.
yes. And if you don't have a business, just do professional or career wise, or make this fit whatever makes sense for you. But in 2025, I was more gentle on myself. Tend to be very hard on myself, but this year my goal is to be more gentle and kind. Watch the way you speak to yourself. I think we talked about this before, but it's very important. I also will have stopped perpetuating old behaviors and learned behaviors. And those are things that have been picked up from family members, from past relationships, any kind of relationships, and being more present and realizing that I'm in a different place and have different people in my life than I did before. And we'll stop repeating some old patterns. And then I would also say that in 2025, I did a really good job at not feeling guilty for slowing down and having time off. It's very easy to just go, 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 and to always be doing things and to not take time for ourselves, because in the work that we do, there's just always things that we can be doing. And I hate even just calling out sick because I feel like I'm letting people down. But what I've learned is that people always understand and want you to have time too. And I feel like we try to do a good job of showing others or demonstrating to others what we want from them too. And I'm always telling people to take time off and take time for themselves. So then why don't I do it myself? So this is going to be the year that I do that.
I love it.
Thanks. What are your personal?
So my personal ones are less quote unquote smart. I did that kind of on purpose. And I wrote, I kept growing with Kaylee and focused on family. I traveled more this year and took more frequent trips / breaks. And I stayed healthy and ran 2250 to 2500 miles and exercised consistently because I was healthy
Yay.
and not burnt out.
Yay.
Those are personal.
Love it. Professional wise, it's funny how much these have already, like, things have already changed kind of in the last
or started rolling. Do you think
weeks.
they have changes and you're not hitting them, or you're changing?
No, just how things have already, like, we'll talk about what caused friction or why we wouldn't have hit our goals, and those things have already started coming in. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Because one of my professional goals for the year is that I did not take on extra jobs outside of my business. And there's already been things popping up that I'm like, ooh, I could do that. That would be a really good opportunity and experience. And coming back and looking like, okay, I don't need to do that. But again, we can be flexible. These aren't set in stone. Jacob's shaking his head at me. It's fine.
Sometimes you need an accountability person in your life too.
Yeah. Moving on. I will have also had a 30% increase in my business revenue. And this also is kind of a new one in the last week. But I will have become a certified running coach that focuses on women's health. I wrote it down.
Have you said anything about Javelina yet?
No.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's it. That's my 3.
You don't want to mention that?
Not right now.
Okay. So business wise, I have completed 3 to 4 certs, and I got 8K. I'm gonna do the run coach one with you. Impact initiative I just completed, but that's more last year, so I'll do something else. But I'll have to find 1 to 2 more yet. And I put average 10K net income for Oak. I guess that's my only thing though, only business. So, and then I switched my schedule so that I'm 6 to 12 a.m. clients in person only, and I have 30 plus online run coaching athletes because I was able to clear my afternoon and make more time to scale that side of the business. And then I worked with other coaches more. That's the only one I have yet to do anything with yet. But all the other ones I'm very happy
2 weeks in.
where we're at with those. So
You're very good at making things happen. That's all I have to say.
I
We've
appreciate
talked about this, but
I
you're
appreciate that.
you're a go-getter. Which is one thing I love about you.
I do remember Ashton telling me that a while back, where he said something along those lines of, it's really funny how whenever you have an idea, like I come back and ask you about it 2 weeks later, and you're like halfway through it.
Yeah.
Done with it. Like
Make it
gait
happen.
analysis, we started that in like a day. And I was right, like when we first did that, and we had our first gait analysis client like a week later. It's crazy.
You're
I
the
did
people.
not know what I was doing at the time.
You're the person that people want on their team, or like special counsels.
Which is
Think if
why I
you're in
want
the
to work with
government-
more coaches.
I think if you're in the
I
government,
would be
things
awful.
would actually
with
be
the
getting done.
government. I would be awful with the government. I don't.
At least things might progress a little quicker, or at all.
No.
Anyways, enough politics. What are 1 to 3 reasons / things that will cause friction towards hitting your goals? I also like this prompt because, well, you're good at explaining this one.
I am.
Just that there's always going to be things that, like, I feel like we can already predict a lot of things that are going to try to stop you from achieving the things that we just talked about, or that you all
Right.
just wrote down.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, when you set your goals and resolutions and whatnot, you're not going to hit them all. I mean, like, you need to kind of accept that realistically. Things are
That's
going
why
to
it's a
happen.
practice.
Right. Things are going to go. I mean, it's things like, at the end of, like, when I started last year, last year I said I was going to run sub 3. I did not run sub 3. Me running 318 at the end of last year, and then, or 317 or whatever, and then saying, oh, I'm going to run sub 3 and take 18 minutes up. I knew that was a lofty goal. I still was going to set it as a goal, and then I ended up running 310. Does that mean that's a failure? No. It's just a step in the right direction towards me running sub 3 someday. And I'm going to keep trying. But, like things like that. Or life happens, right? I was working for 3 different companies last year and didn't necessarily have the intention of leaving any of them that year, but it happened. So at the beginning of the year, my goals might have been different surrounding those 3 companies, and had different things happen, different goals might have come up too. So it's, life comes in, but, and then there's also the unpredictable roadblocks that can completely derail your life too, and goals and whatnot. So when we talk about this and my clients, it's more of, what do you know is going to likely cause friction, right? I was talking to a client the other day about they have a habit of, whenever they're done working like a stretch, they'll finish the week and have 2 to 3 beers, and they were saying how they want to stop doing that. And one of the questions, or one of the things that got brought up, is I end up choosing that over running. And it was kind of putting this into relation with that. It was, okay, well, what, you can't just say I'm going to stop drinking 2 to 3 beers, because obviously it's not going to necessarily work, right? So what is it? Tell me right now how you're going to feel, and what is it specifically that's going to be friction there for that, and drinking those 2 to 3 beers, and how can we avoid that and choose to run first? We kind of came up with the solution of, don't rule out the 2 to 3 beers. That's run first, and then you can drink the 2 to 3 beers after you run. And that was for that specific person. I'm not saying anyone needs to run to drink their beer. That's not what I'm saying. Or eat or whatever, right? But for that specific person, that's what we as a team came up with. I don't know how I got in that tangent, but I hope it was worth it. So, 1 to 3 reasons that you won't hit your goal. I put down that I tend to worry about letting people down. So, especially with schedule changes, there will for sure be 1 or 2 clients that don't like that. And I've already experienced that, some friction and pushback on that. So, letting people down is always tough in that sense. And, or if we raise prices, I'm sure at some point this year I'll raise my prices again, so things like that. The other thing I put is staying focused / saying no to the negative temptations. Remember your why, essentially. I'm human. And right now, I've been in January, I've had a few drinks and I like it. And then I feel like junk the next day when I run. So things like that, learning how to say no to those again, I think it's gonna be important for me. And then the unpredictable / things we don't see coming, roadblocks. I'm gonna stop talking now. I
like when you talk.
Such a tangent. It's ADHD moment.
We're a little tired.
Yeah, that too. I'm still upset with Zencaster. To be honest. Episode 23.
Anyways. A few things for me are, as far as like not taking on extra jobs, is that this is just kind of how I've been my entire life, and that I live on words of affirmation and succeeding and excelling. And I really like doing a million things because it means a lot of praise, basically. And it makes me feel good. I like when other people think I'm doing well. And yeah, I know it's not great, but that's a vulnerable moment for me and how I feel. So, and then kind of along those lines too, just wanting to please everyone and also just hate letting people down and disappointing anyone. So I'll just continue saying yes to many things and picking up lots of things that might not be bringing me towards, the ultimate goal that I want, and kind of leading me down different paths, which has worked in the past and has gotten me to where I am today, but just really trying to focus a little more so that I don't get burnt out and that I can succeed in what I'm really trying to accomplish here. Which leads us to themes / words of 2025.
Our last thing.
So whatever you prefer to do. I know a lot of people do like a word of 2025, just like one thing that you want 2025 to, like your intention 2025. But I also like themes of 2025. If you don't want just a specific word, like what is your theme going into this year?
We get to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Do less, but do it better. Community. Just be content.
Love. One of mine is also doing less. There's a big theme here. And then not finding value in being busy and always having a full schedule and using that as kind of my identity. And I feel like our society, we find value in being busy and saying that we're busy. And I'm trying not to do that anymore. And instead of, when people ask how you're doing, instead of saying, oh, I'm really busy, maybe have a different answer. Because being busy, if that's what you want, great. But that's kind of what I'm trying to get away from more so this year. And not filling my time, because that's the whole goal, is to not fill my time. But you know what I mean? Doing other things. And just being, like you said.
Just be. That's what my Sherpa tells me.
That's our theme. Just be.
Just be.
We don't do that enough this year, or with our society. We are awesome. That's a wrap. But we haven't talked about, speaking of, we get to do this. What's your we get to do this moment of the last, like, it's been a couple weeks. There's a lot of things you could choose from.
My mind goes to my business. I'm just really happy with it right now.
You're killing it.
Yeah, but like, it's been a lot of fun.
It's awesome.
What's yours?
Well, the timeline on this isn't perfect, but today we got 4 inches of snow in Minnesota. We haven't gotten that much all year. And we got to go on a trail run in St. Croix Falls on the Mindy Creek course with some friends. And it was so beautiful. And we were the first ones out on the trail. And it was just 4 of us, but I was just kind of like, wow, we're so lucky that we get to do this and that 4 people chose to brave the roads, brave the conditions, and go literally play in the snow. I mean, we're kind of just like, it was like a controlled fall basically the entire time, but it was so fun and really hard. If you've never run in inches of snow, it's pretty tough. It's kind of like resistance training the whole time. Like my back was a little sore by the end, hips felt it, but it was beautiful. And we kind of paved the trail for everyone else for the next week. And yeah, it was just kind of magical. I was just really happy with it. I thought, wow, we get to do this. I love trails. Anyways, thank you for bearing with us and getting this 2025 episode out.
But it's out now, and you can write down your goals if you haven't yet. If you're on our community call and have talked to us, you maybe have done this already. But otherwise, you have all the tools now. These walkthrough episodes, I think, were kind of fun and different. So hopefully you followed along, wrote things down. If not, go back and do it again.
And we'll add a blog post that I wrote too that kind of touches on all of this to the show notes. So you can also see it in writing there as well. But we appreciate you all, and I'm really excited for 2025. It's going to be a good one.
Me too. Bye, everyone.
Bye.